Welcome to Moments in History channel. Imagine a unit so powerful they could install an emperor on the throne, or just as easily, cut him down. A force meant to be the ultimate symbol of loyalty, but which became the ultimate symbol of ambition and betrayal. Today, we're delving into the story of one of history's most infamous and influential military forces, the Roman Praetorian Guard. So, who were these guys? Think of them as the secret service of ancient Rome, but with way more swords and a lot more political sway. Their story begins in the final, chaotic days of the Roman Republic. Powerful generals started forming elite bodyguard units, called Praetorian cohorts, to protect them on the battlefield. These weren't your average grunts. They were the best of the best, handpicked for their skill, strength, and loyalty. But it was Emperor Augustus who truly transformed them. In 27 BCE, he formalized the Praetorian Guard, creating a permanent 9-cohort force stationed right in the heart of Rome. Their official job? To protect the emperor and the imperial family. Life as a Praetorian was pretty sweet. Compared to a regular legionary slogging it out on the frontier, a Praetorian Guard had it made. First, the pay was significantly better, often double or even triple what a standard soldier earned. They also served for a shorter period, usually 16 years instead of the legionaries' 20 or 25. And upon retirement, they received a hefty bonus. They were the elite, and they knew it. They wore distinctive armor, often more ornate than standard military gear, and carried special standards. Being stationed in Rome itself, the center of the world, meant they enjoyed all the benefits of city life. A far cry from the harsh conditions of a remote fort in Britannia or Dacia. This privileged status made a spot in the Guard highly coveted, drawing recruits from Italy and the most Romanized provinces. They were supposed to be the emperor's most steadfast protectors, a living wall of steel and loyalty. But as we all know, absolute power corrupts, and proximity to power corrupts absolutely. The Praetorians' role quickly expanded beyond just being bodyguards. They became the emperor's personal enforcers, a rapid reaction force, and even a secret police. They put out fires, both literal and political, within the city, managed crowds at the games, and carried out sensitive arrests and executions. Their commander, the Praetorian prefect, became one of the most powerful men in the entire empire, second only to the emperor himself. In fact, some prefects, like the infamous Sejanus under Emperor Tiberius, wielded so much influence that they practically ran the empire, using the Guard to eliminate their rivals and consolidate their own power. This concentration of military might, right next to the seat of government, created a very dangerous dynamic. The Praetorians realized something crucial. The man they were sworn to protect owed his life and his throne to them. This realization turned them from protectors into kingmakers, and sometimes kingbreakers. Their first major foray into imperial politics was a bloody one. In 41 CE, after years of suffering under the erratic and tyrannical rule of Emperor Caligula, a conspiracy involving senators and guard officers came to a head. Officers of the Praetorian Guard assassinated Caligula, his wife, and his daughter. In the chaos that followed, as senators debated restoring the Republic, a few guardsmen stumbled upon Caligula's uncle, Claudius, hiding behind a curtain in the palace. In a moment that would define their legacy, they didn't kill him. Instead, they hailed him as the new emperor. Claudius, terrified but savvy, secured their loyalty with a massive bonus, a donative, for every single guardsman. This set a dangerous precedent. From now on, every new emperor had to buy the Guard's allegiance. The message was clear. The Praetorians held the key to the throne. This pattern of interference became a recurring theme in Roman history. The Guard's loyalty was often for sale. When Emperor Nero's reign imploded in 68 CE, the Praetorians abandoned him, siding with his rival Galba and forcing Nero to take his own life. But their support for Galba was short-lived. When he refused to pay the promised donative, they quickly switched their allegiance to Otho, murdering Galba in the Roman Forum. This kicked off the chaotic Year of the Four Emperors, where the Praetorians played a pivotal role in the rapid succession of rulers. Perhaps the most shameful moment in the Guard's history came in 193 CE, another year of civil war. After the Praetorians murdered Emperor Pertinax, again over a dispute about their pay, they did something truly unbelievable. They put the Roman Empire up for sale. Two wealthy senators, Titus Flavius Sulpicianus and Didius Julianus, rushed to the Praetorian camp, the Castra Praetoria, and began an auction. Standing on the ramparts, the soldiers listened as the two men shouted out bids. Didius Julianus won, promising an astronomical sum of 25,000 sesterces to each soldier. The Praetorians then marched him to the Senate and forced them to proclaim him emperor. This act was so brazen, so disgraceful, that it shocked the Roman world. It was a step too far. The frontier armies were outraged, and a general named Septimius Severus marched on Rome. Didius Julianus, abandoned by the very guards who had elevated him, was executed after a reign of only 66 days. Severus, a no-nonsense military man, took a different approach. He tricked the Praetorians into assembling unarmed outside the city, surrounded them with his loyal legions, and disarmed and dismissed the entire unit in disgrace. He then reformed the Guard, filling its ranks with soldiers loyal to him from his own provincial armies. This move was meant to break their political power, but even this reform didn't last forever. The Guard, in one form or another, would rise again. Despite their reputation for treachery and greed, it's important to remember that the Praetorians were also elite soldiers. When they weren't meddling in politics, they were a highly disciplined and effective fighting force. They accompanied emperors on major military campaigns, fighting alongside the legions on the frontiers. They fought in Britain, in Dacia under Trajan, and on the German frontier with Marcus Aurelius. On the battlefield, their training and discipline often shone through. They served as a reliable imperial reserve, a corps of elite troops that a commander could depend on in a crisis. They also maintained a degree of order and stability in Rome itself. For every emperor they murdered, there were long stretches where their presence ensured the emperor's safety and the capital's security. They were a paradox, a force that could bring both stability and catastrophic instability, often at the same time. Their loyalty was a double-edged sword, and every emperor had to constantly manage it through a mix of respect, fear, and, of course, generous cash payments. The final chapter for the Praetorian Guard was written by one of Rome's most transformative figures, Constantine the Great. In the early 4th century, the empire was once again split by civil war. Constantine's rival for control of Italy was Maxentius, whose power base was in Rome and who relied heavily on the Praetorian Guard as his elite troops. The decisive confrontation came in 312 CE at the legendary Battle of the Milvian Bridge. Constantine's forces, fighting under the sign of the cross, won a crushing victory. Maxentius drowned in the Tiber River, and his army, including the Praetorian Guard, was shattered. Constantine was a man who learned from history. He saw the Praetorians for what they had become, a permanent threat to imperial authority. He wasn't going to make the same mistakes as his predecessors. Upon entering Rome as the undisputed victor, he took decisive action. He formally disbanded the Praetorian Guard once and for all. He didn't just dismiss the men, he dismantled their very identity. Their barracks, the imposing Castra Praetoria that had been their fortress and power base for centuries, were destroyed. The last remnants of the Guard were scattered, sent to the far corners of the empire to serve on the frontiers. After more than 300 years of power, influence, and infamy, the Praetorian Guard was no more. The legacy of the Praetorian Guard is complex. They are a timeless example of what can happen when a military force becomes too entangled in politics. They were created to be the ultimate guardians of the state, but their own ambition and greed often made them its greatest threat. Their story is a dramatic tale of loyalty and betrayal, of power and corruption that played out on the grandest stage of the ancient world. It serves as a powerful reminder that those tasked with guarding power can sometimes be the most tempted to seize it for themselves. The very name, Praetorian, has become synonymous with this idea of a treacherous bodyguard, a testament to their enduring and controversial impact on the Roman Empire and on history itself. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into the Roman world fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Moments in History channel for more stories from history. Let us know in the comments which historical unit you'd like to see us cover next. See you in the next video.